Yep. Nestled not far away from Charlotte, North Carolina is Concord, North Carolina, home to the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Hello everybody, my name is Peter Short, and joining me tonight is Carlos Acosta in the booth. And Carlos, this track has been recently redone by iRacing. The old version of Charlotte Motor Speedway had been around basically since the inception of iRacing. This one has a much older racing surface and has some new features, including portions of the Roval, which you'll see on the front stretch tonight. But this track is one of the fastest in NASCAR, and it definitely will put on a good show here tonight. Carlos, we've had a fantastic season so far, but we're getting close to about the 1/3 distance. What are your thoughts on the season, and what do you expect to see tonight?
I'm going to go ahead and make a prediction that not much is going to change. However, the current season is holding. It's pretty much going to stay the same throughout the rest of the year. I hope I do get proven wrong. I want to see some other drivers step up and start winning some more races. But I'm just excited to get another race done here at Charlotte. This is going to be the third race in a row for 3-Way TV here within 2 different leagues. And honestly, I'm about ready to head on out to the next track.
Yeah, and speaking of new faces near the top, one of those faces is Craig Covington, driving the number 96 tonight, making his B-Car debut here in the SimPossible Racing League. So great to see that number 96 out on track. He's currently out on track right now qualifying. And there he is on the center of your screen as he hits the stripe for his first qualifying lap time. You see him dive off into turns number 1 and 2. I expect to see these drivers right down there on the bottoms through turns number 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, both ends of this racetrack. And Carlos, this racetrack drives a little bit differently in turns number 1 and 2 versus 3 and 4. Slightly different shapes. And right here coming off turn 4 tends to be Calamity Corner. Why is that?
Honestly, I have no idea. I would have always assumed that a Calamity Corner would have been exit of 2, just because it's a sharper angle. And you don't have the type of curve that you would have exiting 4. Yet people tend to struggle in 4. I believe it has something to do with the bumps that were there. Although I'm not quite sure if that's the case now that the track's been touched.
Yeah, and as you see Covington going through the corner, you see he gets really close to the outside wall, hits the outside wall, goes for a spin through the infield grass, just as we were saying that. He's now going, he's going through the grass down there. Not too much grip in that grass, but he is currently sitting. Well, yeah, that is true. It's it looks like grass, but isn't exactly grass. Like you said, he's currently sitting 10th out of the 10 drivers to qualify so far. Currently sitting atop the leaderboard here in qualifying is driver of the number 25. That's Kyle Zimmer, your points leader, actually, believe it or not. Just taking a quick peek at the points. Kyle Zimmer is the points leader over Tanner Sharp. And for all you Tanner Sharp fans, you might be wondering where he is. He appeared to have some connection issues about 2/3 of the way through practice and has yet to reappear, so that could be a tough break for Tanner Sharp.
Yeah, that is not something that Tanner is looking forward to. He used to race 2 times a week here in SimPossible Racing League, and Mondays and Wednesday nights. Unfortunately, school scheduling conflicts has set him back and has only prevented him from running 1 time a week. So if he can't run here tonight, he's not going to get his weekly SimPossible Racing League fix, and that's just not something that we all stand for.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, hopefully Tanner Sharp will be able to run those 2 races. Of course, we have the mixed series on Monday nights here on 3-Wide TV, and then the B-Car series on Wednesday nights. And with, it going towards summer, hopefully Tanner can get both races in per week. But for Right now, it's going to be a hit in points. He came into this race only 1 point behind Kyle Zimmer. Chris Roberge is 13 markers behind Tanner. AJ Digby 2 markers behind Roberge, and Masters another 12 behind Digby. So only 16 points separating your top 4 in points here tonight, and that definitely makes for a very interesting playing field as you see all these drivers now going to the grid, and starting on the pole is that number 25 of Kyle Zimmer, your points leader. He's already got 2 wins so far this year, but looking for that 3rd win tonight, and to his outside, the number 33 of Doug McCollum. Doug, of course, he's won a couple times here in the SimPossible Racing League, but looking to get his first B-Car win of the year. On row number 2, we have the 32 of Billy Wise, going to roll off in P3, and alongside him is Nate Gatilla, who will start 4th in the number 4 machine. On row number 3 is the number 17 of Fernando Matos, and lucky number 13, Alan Capers. On row number 4 is the number 98 of Chris Roberge, and alongside him is the number 9 of Tim Masters. And Tim, of course, coming in tonight 5th place in points, yet to get a win. He's the first driver in points without a win, so keep an eye on him tonight. Row number 5, we got Thomas Wise in the number 1 machine, and the number 99 of Johnny Berardi rolls off from the outside of row number 5.
Well, the only person I can see here is Craig Covington, that the last driver to post the lap time in row 6. It's going to be his first start in the SimPossible Racing League. So we are hoping that he does a fantastic job and can get a decent finish in here tonight. Thank you so much, Peter, for giving me one person to say.
Well, we do have Tom Johnson, Kevin Cochran, Mark Dingman, Brian Lovehead, all those drivers. Excuse me, I think, Mark Dingman is on the grid. But those drivers that I mentioned are out there currently. They did not take a time in qualifying.
There is
Tanner
one,
Sharp,
yes.
Tanner Sharp, the only driver to take time in practice who's not out there on track. So that's definitely going to be a big hit for him as the pace car starts to roll off.
This is not something that Tanner Sharp really wanted. Tanner's typically a person who does tend to qualify, and him not qualifying and not grading up here is bad omen, showing us that he has not been able to recover from his connection issues. Hopefully he'll be able to get in before they start the race, but I'm seeing he's probably going to end up a lap down already.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to wait and see if he does appear at some point in this race. Just want to give a shout out to some of our chatters out there, GOM1600 and Wesley Lee, both checking in with us here on 3Y TV. Definitely a good hello to y'all. Wesley saying howdy, and Gio looking for another Kyle Zimmer win. Hoping to go back-to-back here tonight. And, he's definitely shown a lot of pace from pole in the races he has started from pole, Carlos, and I expect to see that pace from him again here tonight.
All right, now we do apologize for the slight audio issues we're having. I believe the TeamSpeak is having it's moved right now, so we can't really adjust anything, so we hope that settles out pretty soon.
Good old TeamSpeak. We've had some issues with it here so far this year, but nonetheless, green flag is in the air. We don't have any troubles on the track as Kyle Zimmer gets us back under the green flag. Conditions were racing once again in the SimPossible Racing League, and he got a fantastic start to this one, already clearing the number 33 of Doug McCollum. Look at Billy Wise down there in the number 32. Good qualifying for him. And he is going to move up into the 2nd position, at least for now, though Doug McCollum's going to fight back just a little bit on the outside as they go through turns number 3 and 4 now. Zimmer holding station up in the front with clean air on the nose of that number 25 machine. Billy Wise finally does make that pass for 2nd, and let's watch Doug McCollum do a little bit of contact there. Man, almost 3 wide through the tri-oval.
This is a very hectic restart. The 33 up against the wall, but they do a fantastic job of saving the vehicles. 13, 33, pretty much all the black cars in here had some sort of issues and saves that are just amazing to see. This is the 3rd race in a row and the 3rd different car in a row at this track, so we are experiencing all different forms of racing here tonight. Kyle Zimmer pulling away from Billy Wise and Nick Attila, battling against the 13 of Adam Gabers.
Yeah, I mean, my oh my, that could have been really bad for most of the field. So you're right on board with the number 13 here. Alan Capers, he's up into the 4th position, started in 6th position. But, you know, Carlos, that's a tough break for Doug McCollum. He started on the outside pole. He's already slid back to the 15th position. He's got a lot of damage on that number 33 machine. So if you're a Doug McCollum fan, he currently rides 15th out of 15 drivers currently on the racetrack. There he is. You see him right behind.
Oh, there's a wreck up ahead.
Spinning in turn number 1 and 2.
Did they all save it again?
They all saved it again.
Oh my goodness! I don't even know what happened.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go back and watch a replay of that one. I mean, Matos was completely sideways, and then Thomas Wise was completely sideways, and then Covington was completely sideways. They all ended up going straight, and green flag is still in the air here. I mean, I was amazed to see all those cars that sideways, and then to continue straight. I mean, that's
that was net code.
Yeah, a little bit of netcode there, and that's just something you fight as a sim racer racing online. Just sometimes the connection is just a little bit dirty somewhere along the line, and 2 cars fictitiously get into one another. But for some of those drivers, it's definitely, you know, dropped them far back in the pack. It's all been good for Kyle Zimmer so far. He has a huge lead. Over 2 seconds, up to 2.1 second lead over Nate Catilla, who has worked his way up into the 2nd position. He's got some rear end damage on that number 4 machine, but there is Billy Wise under fire from Alan Capers. Capers in that number 13 machine. He's been there for a few laps now, but it is about 4.5 seconds from Alan Capers in 4th back to Tom Johnson, who currently runs in 5th, and Tom's got a decent chunk of damage on that machine. We do have Craig Covington. He's currently sitting 1 lap down. He came down pit road. You saw it here on 3Y TV just a few laps ago. We got a quick shot of him on pit lane in that number 96. Got himself a fast repair. That number 96 is back up to speed. So Carlos, kind of a lot of action happening around the 8th, 7th, and 9th position. I said those numbers out of order, but looks like Chris Roberge and Masters, they're side by side. That would be a battle for the 9th position, just off screen here.
Now, there is something that some people are going to be questioning. All of these trucks here have damage, and they're all within. Oh, as the 9th car goes sideways, that will probably be a caution that it is.
Oh, into the pit wall. Chris Roberge has hit the barriers there at the end of pit road. I think he's stuck in that number 98 machine, and that's just going to be a tough break for him. He's going to have to take a tow. Let's see what we can see on replay here. There was that contact right there in the middle of the corner between the 1 of Thomas Wise and the 9 of Tim Masters, and that got that number 9 sideways. And then you see that second contact there that put that number 98 into those barriers at the end of pit road.
That wall should not be there.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I saw that yesterday here on 3YTV when we did the ASRS SMS Cup Series race, and I was thinking the same thing, like, why is that wall there? And unfortunately for the 98 of Roberge, it is in the completely the wrong spot. He did indeed have to take it though, so Roberge is going to lose a lap or 2 here, which is going to be a tough break. Let's keep an eye on Fernando Matos in that number 17. He didn't miss that wall by much, as all of your leaders currently pacing. Carlos, I expect to see all your leaders on pit road this time.
But probably too, although maybe not this first time by. I know a couple of drivers that do tend to try to lead a lap at the risk of losing a couple spots in their pit road.
Well, it looks like your race leader Kyle Zimmer
13.
will lead them down. Yeah, Alan Capers in the 13, like you said, Carlos. He's going to stay out, lead that lap. And that's a pretty common thing for Alan Capers. He does that quite a bit here. Goes around, leads the lap.
Can we talk about?
And yeah, he likes to kill cones. I don't know if I've seen a cone here.
Well, there's one right there.
At the new Charlotte Motorway. Yeah, I guess there's that one on the end of pit road. It'd be hard for him to hit that one, but we'll have to see if That wouldn't be the first time I will have said that, oh, that cone will be hard to hit. Alan Capers goes and gets it. A couple of drivers missing their pit box here. The number 25 of Kyle Zimmer hit his box well. He's going to be down and away. First car off pit road, followed by Nate Catilla and Tom Johnson. Billy Wise, he's going to be the fourth car off pit road. Then Brian Lowhead. Haven't talked about Lowhead in the number 66 tonight so far, but the number 66 looks nice and clean. We'll have to go back and see if he used a fast repair or not.
Yeah,
doesn't look like he did. It was nice and clean coming into pit road, so doing a good job of keeping that car clean so far.
Yeah, going back into what I was trying to say for the last couple of laps, but every single time I started to bring it up, people started getting loose and saving it. These cars do have 4 fast repairs for this track. Some of them have already had to use it once. Some of them are elected not to use it, and some of them haven't had a chance to use it yet. So these vehicles, they have the opportunity to keep on going, whether or not they got involved in a very, very bad wreck in the beginning of the race. I'm sure the 98 has already used his fast repair. He kind of had to, considering he got stuck. And what a clean car that is now.
Yeah, Fernando Matos, another one of those drivers electing to use a fast repair. Tim Masters as well. That car is nice and clean. Looking through the field, Nate Catilla decided to save a fast repair. We've seen that strategy work out for a couple of drivers this year. Tom Johnson, similarly, he's got some front-end damage on that number 56, saving his fast repair. But beyond that, looks like most of the field used the fast repair at some point. Thomas Wise also shows some damage, so he has elected to save a fast repair. And I think that's a smart move. You know, we're only just over 10 laps into this race now. It's 133 laps, about 200 miles here tonight. So, Carlos, I'm not all too surprised to see some of these people decide to save that fast repair, because we have seen drivers run out of them.
Especially Nate Catilla on the 4. He just has some very, very light rear end damage. This is not something that's going to affect him at all. So it's smart that he went ahead and saved his fast repair. Although I'm not sure about some of the vehicles that have some front end damage. Although it's still early, it doesn't matter if they drop back. There's probably going to be another wreck, and that'll be just good idea to save them.
Yeah, we're talking like this is getting close to the end of the race, but we still have over 150 miles to go here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Of course, Charlotte Motor Speedway is one of the big races in the NASCAR schedule, with most of the teams being close by. But all of these drivers in tonight's SimPossible Racing, like, they're from all across North America. And it's pretty cool to see. You have Chris Roberge, he's a Canadian. He's Canadian, and he is proud of it. Often you'll see a maple leaf on that car or something indicating that he is a Canadian driver. He is proud of it. But definitely cool to see all these drivers from all across the country.
Well, this is going to be the first restart for tonight. 1 to green, already going to be in the backstretch. Very few amount of laps, very hectic first 10 laps. Who do you think has the speed right now? For me, it looks like it might just be the 25's night.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Zimmer zipped away from the field, but it'd be interesting to see if some of those other drivers around him are actually pacing themselves. There is a decent amount of tire fall off here because this racing surface is now so old. Once iRacing rescanned it, I think they increased the amount of tire wear just a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see if drivers like Nate Catilla were just pacing themselves and seeing if they could mount a charge later in the run. But definitely that number 25 was out there basically acting as the rabbit for all the greyhounds behind him. That number 25 definitely showing pace both in qualifying and on the racetrack. Pace car diving onto pit road once more. All these drivers will wait until the restart zone, and green flag back in the air here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And Carlos, we saw last night in the ASRS series that we commentate here on 3Y TV, that restart zone, that's just about where the green flag flies. It's kind of cool that iRacing has added that restart zone.
Yeah, I believe they molded after what's on the real-life tracks. And in real life, the restart zone it's not much of a big difference. You're there for less than a second and the green flag comes out, whether you go or not. So it's nice to see that that's an option some lease and use, like the American Sim Racing Series that we saw last night, they elected to actually use the restart box to actually restart the race, as opposed to just going whenever the pace car pulls off. Just because it was incredibly visible at this track. Everybody agreed and everybody decided to go for it. Only had one driver that went too early at the final restart, but the driver checked up on the backstretch to give those positions back, and thus there was no penalty involved.
Speaking of going on a restart...
behind 96!
Tim Masters I think is in the wall. And Covington there, like you said, in the 96, and Tim Masters in the 9. Both of those cars going through the AstroTurf here. Let's see if we can see what happened on the replay coming out of turn number 4. Ooh, looks like the 96 might have caught that outside wall. Carlos, we saw him do that in qualifying. It is definitely one of the trouble spots on the track. It's like that wall just jumps out at you, and if you're a little bit too high above the groove and you smack it real hard with the right side, it will definitely shoot your car across the track, and that's what we saw right there. There's the number 33. Got to keep an eye on the number 33. He dropped all the way to 15th position on the first lap during that. Yeah, he did do it on purpose, but he's definitely mounting a charge once more. He's worked his way back up to the 4th position. That is Doug McCollum in the 33. Used a fast repair on that machine under the last caution. So that machine is back to 100%, and he's showing his muscle working his way through the field. We have this battle a little bit further back. There's Billy Wise in the number 32 and Alan Capers in the number 13. And I did see under this last caution that Alan Capers did go down and grab that blue cone on the back stretch just coming out of turn number 2. So par for the course for that number 13 machine here in the SimPossible Racing League. And there you see Mark Ingman right in front of the number 13 of Alan Capers. Good run for Dingman. He did not take a time in qualifying or practice, so he's on this racetrack right now with 0 practice, running in the 6th position right behind Brian Lowhead in the number 66. Of course, Lowhead, one of those drivers who elected not to qualify, which is also par for the course for the SimPossible Racing League. Lowhead doesn't qualify very often, but Lowhead is currently your biggest mover, up 10 positions from his starting spot, currently running inside the top 5.
I don't know how some of these drivers do it. Not practicing and not qualifying. I don't know if this was done by choice or just by out of time, but I have nightmares thinking about entering a race without a single lap of practice. Even if I know the track, it's just something that's scary to me, and we're seeing some of these drivers do it and have no issues at all, and they're holding their own, and it just makes me a little bit jealous.
Yeah, definitely speaks to the skill level here for all these SimPossible Racing League drivers. Up at the front, you're not missing all too much. Kyle Zimmer has zipped way to about a 1.5 second lead over Nate Catilla in the number 4. Tom Johnson about 0.7 of a second behind Nate Catilla, and then it's fairly clustered behind him, about a 0.5 second back to Brian Lowhead, and then there's a gaggle of cars from 6th on back to the 10th position. 6th place Capers, 7th Dingman, 8th Billy Wise, and 9th Kevin Cochran. And then it's a ways back to the number 99 of Johnny Berardi, just off the right side of your screen there. Berardi bounced off the wall through turns number 1 and 2 on this lap, and you can see he basically has no speed down the back stretch. Scrubbed all speed that car had away from it, and now he's going to fall into the clutches of Thomas Wise and Chris Roberge. And Carlos Roberge has got some damage. He used the fast repair under this last. Yeah, he is a lap down. He went 2 laps down because he had to take a tow on pit road. He got one of those laps back from a wave around, but now he currently sits 1 lap down, but he's got some right side damage on that car. So I think that Roberge might have either been involved with the 96 and the 9. He might have got a piece of that, or maybe he himself has smacked the wall. But that number 98 currently not quite up to the pace of the cars in front. So that's not what Chris Roberge is wanting to see. Of course, he is in the lucky dog position, so if he can stay there, the first car 1 lap down, he will be back in the lead lap in the event of a yellow flag. but currently the field has kind of strung out a little. Ooh, we do have a car in the grass as I say that. On the front stretch, it's the 96 of Craig Covington. He's back out on the racing circuit, but he is now 1 lap down. So just as I was saying, Roberge was the first car 1 lap down. Now Covington is the first car 1 lap down. So I'm sure Roberge will be trying to hustle his way to catch up to that 96 to see if he can regain the lucky dog position. But that number 96 car, he's got a decent amount of damage on that thing right now, and I think it's affecting that car adversely, because it just doesn't seem to be handling the corners very well.
Yes, Craig Covington is clearly struggling right now, but I gotta give it to him. He's not quitting. He's still out there with the damaged racetrack, and he's logging laps, saving it in his memory, and hopefully next time he comes back to this track, he can go ahead and kick a lot of butt.
Yeah, and it's great to see Craig here tonight. Like I said at the start of this race, it's his first B-Car Series race with the SimPossible Racing League. It's always great to have new faces here in the SimPossible Racing League. And if you yourself are interested in joining the SimPossible Racing League, let me tell you what it's all about just a little bit. This is a racing league for disabled drivers. Every driver in this field has a disability of some sort, and they're all out here on the racing track showing that regardless of whatever the disability is, it's not affecting the way they drive. And these guys put on a fantastic show. I mean, we saw a 3-wide battle for the Truck Series Championship last year at Homestead, Miami, or should I say last season in the trucks. Absolutely fantastic racing that these guys put on each and every week here on 3-Wide TV. And if you yourself are interested in joining, maybe you know someone who has a disability who's looking to get into sim racing, let us know here on YouTube, or check out SimPossible Racing League on iRacing. Send a message to the league so they can see if they can get you added, because it's definitely a great place to go. Getting to know all these drivers are a great group of people, and I definitely enjoy commentating them each and every week.
As do I, although the majority of the time I'm not really commentating. I'm hanging out in the back, moving the cameras like I'm doing right now. 33 with Doug McCollum looks to be catching up to the back end of Tom Johnson, the 56. Another driver we may have to look out for is Kevin Cochran. He may not necessarily be posting the fastest lap out there, but he is running somewhat consistent lap times. And although it isn't anywhere near as fast as Kyle Zimmer, who is on a league of his own, everybody is on the 30.9s or 30.1s. He's still running in the 30.6s. So Kyle Zimmer is just whooping everybody right now. But Kevin Cochran, he seems to be just holding his own and slowly moving up.
Yeah, looking at last lap times, Kyle Zimmer was about 0.3 of a second faster than Nate Catilla. Fernando Matos was the second fastest car on the racing circuit last time by. He's currently in the 10th position, about 9 seconds off the race lead, but he is fast himself. So let's keep an eye on that number 17 machine, see if he can work his way forward. Like you said, Carlos, Kevin Cochran also very fast out there on the racetrack. In fact, as these drivers cycle around the racetrack, this past time by, Cochran was the second fastest car. So maybe Cochran's got some long run speed. We've had about 20 laps since these drivers last pitted, so it's probably been about a 17-lap green flag run here. And that's about when tires and tire wear starts to figure into your race pace, and Cochran definitely showing out there that he has that long run pace. And just to quickly highlight something about Kevin Cochran. Oh, we have a caution. We do have a caution. Not quite sure. Oh, it's the number 13, Alan Capers.
Oh, what
Alan Capers is around. In that number 9, in the number 13, we'll have to see if we can get a replay of what happened here. And it looks like he just broke loose there, Carlos. And unfortunately hit the outside wall and got the twofer. I'm sure Alan would have preferred to hit the cone rather than the wall.
Let's take a look at one more time to see what happens.
Yeah, let's ride on board.
I think he had some contact.
Yeah, Fernando Matos was there right behind him in the number 17 machine, and we just highlighted that Fernando Matos was really fast on the racetrack. Let's see what we can see here. Oh, yeah, definitely contact between the 17 and the 13. It got the 13 loose and into the inside wall. But like we mentioned earlier, these drivers do have fast repairs, so they will be able to use them. And I'm sure that's what Alan Capers is doing right now, is he's joining everyone else on pit road. Number 25, Kyle Zimmer, leading him down. Nate Catilla currently sitting second. Doug McCollum, the third car on pit road as of right now. And all those drivers are now going to hit their pit boxes as those crews go to work. Taking a look to see if there's any drivers that stayed out. Tom Johnson, Fernando Matos, and Johnny Berardi all stayed out. I do expect them to come down pit road next time by, however, to get fresh tires. I think they just stayed out to lead a lap or so.
Unfortunately,
there you saw Kyle's. Yeah, well, I mean, you could stay out and pit on the third time by. I know a lot of drivers do that, but you could do that. Usually there's enough time to at least stay out for one extra lap because you don't have the one to go or two to go just yet. Kyle Zimmer, though, first car off pit road, there top right of your screen, that blue nose, number 25. Second car off pit road was Doug McCollum in the number 33. So Doug started on the outside pole right behind Kyle Zimmer. He's now worked himself up to the second car on 4 fresh tires as it stands right now. But keeping an eye on your field, I believe Craig Covington and Chris Roberge both got the wave around as well. So those two drivers will be back on the lead lap, and I know that's exactly what Chris Roberge wanted to see because he had that damage on that number 98, so he'll be able to come down and get that damage fixed. And it looks like the number 56, Tom Johnson, came down, led the lap. Now Fernando Matos stays out, so Matos will lead this lap time by in that number 17 machine. And it's going to be interesting to see if that pace that we saw in that number 17 car will be more evident on the short run, because it seems like he's more of a long run car, but definitely showing lots of pace at the end of that run.
So, quick interesting fact, 17 decided to stay out, and I know you mentioned that there is a third lap that they could go down. Technically, yes, they could go down, but there's a good chance they may inquire pitting when closed penalty, and this is the worst kind of pitting when closed penalty. The one where everybody's already had a chance to go through and pit road closes for the final time. That's not a tail end of the lead lap penalty. That's a pass through penalty or a stop and go penalty in iRacing. That's one of the harsher ones out there. It's only given to pit road only closes to anybody who has elected to not come down pit road in the first 2 chances. But it does stay open for any driver out there who has already gone down pit road. So it's a very strange type of thing, but I don't think the 17, unless he's willing to take that penalty, would go down pit road. On that note, the 17 you mentioned earlier had times where he was the second fastest car out there, and that was including damage. So we'll see how the 17 can handle with 25 lap tires. Compared to the fresh tires at the 25 directly behind him the second is going to have.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting because pace car lights are off. Fernando Matos will lead us back to green flag here in just about a lap's time. And Carlos, I'm just looking at his last 5 lap times. Matos' last 5 green flag lap times, his average lap time was a 31.0 second lap. That's about a second slower than the best lap times we have seen from him in this race. So it seems like he had about a second of drop-off in that 23-24 lap green flag run that we had. So that's going to be interesting to see if he can stay up there with these other drivers who have 4 fresh tires and presumably are about a second faster than him a lap.
All right, just a quick note. I'm trying to reply to you guys on YouTube, but for some reason it's not letting me send my messages through, so I do apologize if I'm not replying to anybody in there.
Yeah, you know, good old YouTube having YouTube conundrums. But nonetheless, these drivers are not having any conundrums on the track. just yet because green flag is about to be back in the air. Fernando Matos, watch for wheel spin here, Carlos. He's on old tires. You're gonna have to watch out for it. Looks like he's rolling nice and cleanly as green flag is back in the air. The 25 of Kyle Zimmer got a great restart on that outside, and he is going to get that nose ahead going through turns number 1 and 2. We'll see if he can hold off the number 17 here. Looks like he's going to do so. Move Kyle Zimmer back to the race lead. There's a side-by-side battle now for the 3rd position. Brian Lowhead moves up into 3rd. Now he's got Matos in front of him. Ooh, Matos drifts up. And Matos now all of a sudden sliding back in that number 17. I think those old tires are affecting him. You can see he's now side by side with the number 48 machine of Mark Dingman. Dingman's going to slide by here off into turn number 1 and 2. And that's going to put Matos now under fire from Catilla, Tom Johnson, Thomas Wise, everyone now swarming around that number 17 machine. And Carlos, I'm thinking already that oh, he get clipped. There's contact. The number 13's in the wall hard. And that will surely bring out a caution flag. No caution just yet. They're still wrecking on the front stretch. Thomas Wise finally goes around, and there is the caution flag. And it all stemmed from a little bit. Oh my gosh, we got a car upside down. Johnny Berardi is flipping on the front stretch, end over end. And finally, that number 99 comes to rest, but that car is going to be smoking. Looks like he's going to be able to get possibly back to pit road under caution. That was a long accident. Let's see what happened on the replay. I think it all started with a little bit of contact here from the 1 and the 17. There it was. That gave the 17 a nudge. And then the 1 clipped the 13. The 1 was doing everything he could to save it. And then finally ran out of room and got into Matos yet again. And then let's watch what happened here. Oh, the number 99 maybe got a little bit of a clip on the right rear corner. That sent him in the wall. Gives the gyro cam a good workout as it spins around there in the where the passenger seat would be on a production car. Definitely a tough break here. Let's see what happened. Looks like the number 99. Just a little clip there for the 17.
Yeah, it was there.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happened, Carlos. I just don't think he knew he was there.
Yeah, typically right after a wreck, especially when you're involved in it, you're more concerned about how the car's handling. You're not really typically paying attention to who exactly is around you because everybody's slowing down. It's one of those, like, the danger's gone, so I can relax, and then you relax too much, and it causes that.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, what we're seeing on the racetrack right now is actually Fernando Matos is pushing Johnny Berardi around the racetrack, so I think he understands that was a mistake. It was by accident. Matos didn't mean anything by it, so he's actually pushed the 99 back to pit road, so the number 99 won't have to take a tow. So that's good sportsmanship there by Fernando Matos. But we do have takers on pit road. One of those drivers is your race leader, Kyle Zimmer. He's in that pit box. That crew is going to work once again. For Doug McCollum in the 33 right behind him. Looks like these drivers electing to take 4 fresh tires, even though we didn't have that many laps on their tires. Only about 7 or so laps and even fewer green flag laps for those drivers. They did come down, take 4 fresh tires. Drivers who did stay out: Billy Wise, Mark Dingman, Nate Catilla, Craig Covington, and Thomas Wise. I'd be kind of surprised to see Thomas stay back out there because it looked like he accrued some damage under that caution flag. He was one of those drivers who was involved. No. But he so far has elected to stay out.
Now, here's what I think happened on as to why just that whole restart scenario happened. I would assume that he thought he can wait it out one more time and then go down pit road. But he probably didn't know that pit road closes for anybody who hasn't gone down pit road at all during those first 2 chances. And since he didn't want to risk getting a penalty that harsh, he decided to stay out and hope that he would be able to hold his own.
Yeah, it's definitely a little caveat penalty there. And, you know, unfortunately for Fernando, he did lose a lap pushing Berardi around the road. Oh no, a little bit of contact there in the back. Speaking of Fernando Matos, Johnny Berardi and Matos had coming together once again here under caution, but they're going to stay going. They just each gave each other some damage there. But what I was going to say is Matos sits one lap down. Kevin Cochran in the number 80, he's also one lap down. But that number 80 Camry is fully repaired, so that's good to see. He'll be back up to speed. We've seen speed out of Kevin tonight. I'm sure he'll work his way back onto the lead lap once this is all said and done. But currently Cochran sits in the 13th position. Fernando Matos sits 14th. Johnny Berardi sits 15th. But up near the front, your race leader, Billy Wise, over Mark Dingman. Both of those drivers electing to stay out. On row number 2 is Nate Catilla in the 4 and Craig Covington making his SimPossible Racing League debut. And then 5th place is Kyle Zimmer. Zimmer's the first car on 4 fresh tires, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. Doug McCollum, Brian Lowhead, Tim Masters, Tom Johnson, Roberge, Thomas Wise, Alan Capers are the 6th place on through 12th. All of those drivers electing to come down and get 4 fresh tires. Pace car lights are off. We'll get set to go back to green flag racing. And Carlos, one thing I was going to mention a little while ago, just before you went to caution, was Kevin Cochran's line. We mentioned that he was fast on the long run, but one thing I noticed out of that number 80 machine is he was running the second groove on the racetrack. Most cars were running right down there on that blue line on the very bottom, but Cochran was running kind of middle of the racetrack, and I think that was helping him save some tire, and that is why we saw that long run pace. So we'll have to keep an eye on Kevin Cochran and see if he does that again. He does currently sit 1 lap down, so he will have to make up that lap, but I think he can do so. He currently sits in the lucky dog spot, so yeah, if he gets another caution, he'll be on the lead lap.
This is for the first, as we mentioned earlier, for the first 4 drivers, this is a six lap difference between fresh tires and the old tires. Not going to be much. It should cause a little bit of a slowdown for the top 4, but it shouldn't be anything like we saw the last time.
Yeah, and really, you have to think about it. There was only, I believe, 3 corners on those tires, 3 green flag corners on those tires, I should say. And really, turns 1 and 2, you're not even up to full speed yet. So we'll have to keep an eye on how that story unfolds as the green flag is unfurled, and we're back under green flag conditions. Mark Dingman got a great restart in that number 48 machine. He's going to be side by side with Billy Wise as they go off into turn number 1. That's the best start I've seen so far tonight, at least the best from a side-by-side perspective. And look at this, the 48 is actually going to take the race lead coming out of turn number 2. Move Mark Dingman to the point. Nate Catilla looking to see if he can work his way past the 32. Oh, almost contact there in turn number 3, and that's going to stack up the field. That's going to allow Billy Wise to get away, and I think the 96 of Covington might have clipped the wall. We're 3 wide through the tri-oval. Tim Masters on the inside, Doug McCollum in the middle. They sort that out as they go off into turn number 1. But my oh my, a lot of door banging there.
It's a very hectic restart that we've seen already so far, and we've actually been seeing very hectic restarts from everybody. I didn't actually expect the 96 of Craig Covington to actually hang on for as long as he did, but he held on, and now he's dropping back slowly to 8th. But he's doing a great job showing me he's having more car control than what he had at the beginning of the race. So that's a fantastic job. We are already seeing an improvement on the 96 of Craig Covington. Towards the front, though, it's going to be a battle for second place, itching as Kyle Zimmer, who is clearly dominating for the majority of the race, is battling side by side with Billy Wise. I don't think it's going to be much of a battle, but should just be on for about a lap before he goes on and tries to catch up to the 48 of Mark Dingman.
Yeah, and Zimmer got a great run coming out of turn number 4 ahead of steam. Going to drive to the inside of that number 48. Dingman's going to stay right up there close to the wall, seeing if he can pitch down that number 25 machine. But Zimmer's got a great run. But look at the cars behind those two stacking up just a little bit. The side-by-side racing is bringing the entire field up to the front. Look at the 33 power move there by Doug McCollum on the high side. as Zimmer has regained the race lead up at the front. Action happening everywhere. Let's get the number 33 going into the grass there through the second part of the quad oval. McCollum now sits in the 4th position. He's looking for more blood as he dives to the inside of the number 32. Nate Catilla now shuffled back into the 5th position. I think Nate was a little bit surprised by that move that Doug pulled, because Doug was all the way down there in the AstroTurf on the inside of the racetrack, but McCollum, he got a good run coming out. Oh my gosh, look at that. He's going into the AstroTurf once again. That's going to give him a 1X if you're familiar with the iRacing terms. An off track, so to speak, but Doug is showing his muscle now as he dives to the inside of the 48. So he's gone from the 5th position up to 2nd in just about a lap and a half. Great maneuvers there by Doug McCollum to get up to that position, and now we're side by side for 3rd. Great side by side action here on this restart, and pretty much all throughout the field there's some battle going on, except up at the very front where Zimmer has scooted away once more. Wise still trying to use that inside line. We saw this last night, Carlos, when we watched a race here at Charlotte Motor Speedways. It can sometimes be difficult to make a move on the inside because the outside line can get such a run and it can kind of pinch down that inside line. Definitely looks a little bit frustrating for some of these drivers on the inside line.
Well, the same rules apply as it did yesterday, even though they are completely different vehicles with completely different downforce packages and horsepower packages. Something we can say with the 33 right now, though, is that we may have to give this guy a new nickname, or we may have to give him a nickname in general. We have Alan Capers, who goes and cuts the cone. He's the cone cutter. Now we got the track cutter, 33, at Doug McCollum. He has been cutting that track there in the front stretch. That being said, I actually think that part may not be AstroTurf, and that is actually painted on. He didn't do it that time, so go ahead and call me a liar. Let's go ahead and move on. Talk to 32 of Billy Weiss. Doing a fantastic job to see the 66 of Brian Lowhead do what I called the 33 would have done. Cutting that grass and now going side by side against the 32 of Billy Wise. Mark Dimon right behind them watching this show. If anything happens between these two, he'll be able to capitalize on it. But this in this stretch of about 10 laps already is going to be the cleanest 10-lap stretch that we have seen so far in this race, and this is an improvement that we are seeing from pretty much every driver out there. The only real shame of the night tonight is Tanner Sharp having his connection issues. I do not believe he is going to be coming into the track at all. He has not started the race, and he is not being shown in the server at all. So it's a real shame for Tanner Sharp being unable to participate in this race at Charlotte. I know this is a track he enjoys racing at.
Yeah, and it was all due to what would appear to be connection issues in practice. He fell out of the server at some point and never reappeared, so hope everything is okay with that number 33. Oh, Covington hard in the outside wall, riding that outside wall in that number 96. That's going to drop him back a couple positions. He slid back now into the 11th position. Thomas Wise was able to get by. He's now falling into the clutches of Johnny Berardi. Berardi 1 lap down. That's going to break up that battle just for the time being, but we were watching the number 48 hunting the number 32, but let's look at this side-by-side battle between Tom Johnson and the 56 and Tim Masters and the 9 now Masters in the outside wall. That outside wall, turn 4, that's what I was alluding to earlier, Carlos, that turn 4 wall just jumps out and gets you sometimes, and it has got Tim Masters and Craig Covington in back-to-back laps. And Chris Roberge, the number 98, he had a terrible run through turns number 1 and 2, and he's fallen into clutches of Tom Johnson, Fernando Matos, and Kevin Cochran. A couple of those drivers 1 lap down, but Roberge just didn't seem to be able to get the power down in that number 98 machine, and now he is heavy under fire from the cars around him. Here comes the number 98 of Cochran to his inside. Cochran currently sits 1 lap down in that number 80 machine, but doesn't have the lucky dog spot. That's currently held by Fernando Matos. We've seen speed out of Matos and Cochran. They just haven't seemed to be able to get up to the front so far tonight, but we still have over half of this race left to go.
You can talk about the current drop back for the 98 of Chris Roberge, but this is still a huge improvement. He was able to get himself back from being 2 laps down very early in the race. When he found himself merged into the pit road wall that should really not be there. So he's on the lead lap, dropping a couple positions, but honestly, that's a huge improvement from what we saw. Currently in the top spot, Cal Zimmer has a 1.3 second lead over the 33 of Doug McCollum, who has a 1.8 second lead over third place Nate Catilla. And then from there, Brian Locat is going to be right behind them, not too far off. And then we got Billy Wise battling Mark Digman right now, or it should be the other way around, as they're going side by side. These two cars. Pardon me, I have other things in the brain right now. These two cars are doing a fantastic job battling side by side. Of course, directly right behind them, we have another two-car battle. As did the 48 hit the wall, or did he just close?
I think he just got really close there, but definitely Tom Johnson got a huge run, and Johnson's going to take the 6th position from Billy Wise. Billy Wise dropping from 5th back to 7th in 1 lap. So it's been a rough lap for that number 32 machine, but that car looks nice and clean still as it went past the start-finish line. Right on board here with Billy Wise, looking out that front bumper. And the thing you'll notice about Charlotte Motor Speedway, at least this rescan version, is there are quite a few bumps around this racetrack going into turns number 3. Turn number 3 right on the bottom, there tends to be a decent amount of bumps, especially like right here coming off the corner, especially when that car tends to unload as the banking flattens out. Definitely one of the more bumpy circuits out there, and that definitely makes it fun for the drivers. At least the 48, Mark Dingman, looks like he dinged the wall there just a little bit. Got some right front damage.
That was not a good
Carlos.
punt from you.
Well, you know what? I try. Okay, I try.
Hey, you do have an excuse. You've been gone for like 3 weeks.
Yeah, I've had a lot of stuff going on. I've moved to a new place. I went to the UK last month. My ISP didn't treat me well, and they actually kind of screwed me over a little bit, but that's okay. I'm on a different ISP now, and now back here commentating, and thoroughly enjoy doing so. I really have a lot of fun doing these commentaries because you see action on track, just like this one.
Oh,
there's the number 32. Ooh, Dingman in the wall once again. Yeah, he clipped that turn 4 wall, and that's gonna hurt his speed down the front straightaway. He's got a lot of right front damage now. It's kind of gone from bad to worse for that number 48 machine. Had some minor right front damage, but now that right front damage is pretty noticeable on that Ford Mustang. But you see these cars kind of going at it. Ooh, Billy Wise really tight in the center of the corner. He's going to bounce it off the wall. Looks like he got a little... Ooh, we have a caution. It looks like Tim Masters. Yeah, Tim Masters in the number 9 machine. That car is smoking. Don't see any other cars around him. That's kind of an odd place for it to happen right there at the end of the straightaway, but looks like this is going to tell the story. A little bit of contact there, perhaps, and yep, contact with the number 1 there, Thomas Wise, and that number 9 is hard in the outside wall. That car pretty much came to a complete stop.
Yeah, something that people have been complaining about, there is a current issue with Charlotte Motor Speedway, this iRacing's upgrade rescan is, the walls tend to grab and spit out vehicles now. iRacing is aware of it and they're looking into it, but at the moment they haven't been able to issue any type of fix for it. So as we can see right here, what happened with the 9th car, it looks like he made contact with the 1, entering the corner, got himself in a position where the 1 car was able to clip him, and it shoved him straight up into the outside wall, and it literally sent him backwards from going nearly 180 miles an hour to negative 10 as it was sliding backwards.
Yeah, that's not how physics work. Let me just tell you that right there.
And what makes you a master of physics?
Well, I would say I'm an aerospace engineer because I am, but that doesn't make me a master of physics. I don't have my master's degree. I don't intend to. Don't want to go back to school. I spent way too much time in college as it was, but nonetheless, did get a bachelor's degree. So I would know a few things about physics, not everything about physics.
All you aerospace engineers are all the same, boasting about how fun school was and how they don't want to go back. Yeah,
school, not fun. Let me just tell you that right now. We do have drivers on pit road, however. Kyle Zimmer is going to be the first one to hit his pit box, slid into his pit box nice and neatly, as did Doug McCollum. A couple of other drivers going through other drivers on pit road to get to their pit box, but everyone now in their box, and you see a couple drivers using their fast repairs. One of those drivers was the number 1 of Thomas Wise. Tom Johnson electing to not use a fast repair. Looks like Fernando Matos isn't going to use a fast repair either. But it does look like Doug McCollum will be the first car off pit road. He slid into his box really quickly, as did Kyle Zimmer, but Kyle Zimmer must not have been able to get quite the stop he was looking for. And looking at it on paper, Kyle Zimmer had about a second slower pit stop than Doug. So that's going to put that number 33 Epilepsy Sucks Chevy Camaro, the first car off pit road and the first car on 4 fresh tires. Can say that Roberge in the number 98 stayed out, as did Johnny Berardi. Not quite sure who the lucky dog was. I think it was Fernando Matos. But I might stand corrected there, as Kevin Cochran has gone around the pace car. Looks like Cochran back on the lead lap here, and Roberge will come down pit road. So it has been a good recovery by Roberge in that number 98 to go from 2 laps down to at least lead a lap in this one. But he definitely has seemed to have had a little bit of bad luck so far in this race. Expect to see that number 98 basically up near the front when it matters. We have seen a couple times this year where Roberge has been in the mid-pack for most of the race, but when it matters most, he works his way up to the front. So keep an eye on that for that number 98 machine as this race continues to go on. Kevin Cochran coming down pit road, as did Alan Capers in the number 13, and I think he's back on pit road. Tim Masters coming down to top off with fuel. And Carlos, last night in the ASRS series, we saw about a 60-lap green flag run, and that was the window that the drivers had on fuel. And looking at how many laps we have left, and assuming that this B car will be somewhat analogous to the Cup car, there's 68 laps or so left.
Hate to cut you off, but you're using some big boys words there for me, and I do not understand what analogous means.
Well, similar to.
Go
the
on.
The thesaurus says similar to.
Okay, yeah, well, I am not a thesaurus, is where I'm seeing Doug McCollum have a small amount of issues. I can go ahead and take a guess as to what you were going to say. If we are going full fuel, it could be similar amount of laps, but at the same time, I don't think they'll be able to run 60 just because of the fact that in the Cup cars they were running here yesterday, they were using that new downforce package. They're not always fully on the gas, and you could save maybe a couple laps just by not getting on the gas too quickly and just relying on the draft and the backstretch in the corners. These vehicles they don't have the same type of of ability to do that. You'll just be risking more positions and losing unnecessary time if you do that. So it could be close, but I don't have the knowledge in my memory to know if they can go from here to the end.
Well, only time will tell as pace car lights are off and we're getting set to go back to green flag racing. Doug McCollum in the number 33 leading his first few laps of the race tonight out front. Right behind him is the number 25 of Kyle Zimmer, who has led the most laps tonight. Nate Catilla currently rides right behind him. In fact, he's laying back just a little bit in that number 4 machine, but Nate Catilla is third. Brian Lohead, great run for him. Started in 15th, shotgun of the field. Currently riding in 4th. Tom Johnson in the number 56. He did not use a fast repair. There is some damage on that number 56, but we have seen him be quite quick. He's currently 5th. Billy Wise 6th. Dingman 7th. Wise 8th. Covington 9th. Roberge 10th. And green flag is back in the air as Doug McCollum's going to lead us back to the green flag. He got a pretty good restart, as did Kyle Zimmer. Nate Catilla, though, in the number 4 machine, he's going to lose out here just a little bit as they go off into turn number 1, because Lohead's been able to get his way up to the 3rd position. That's plus 12 from the start of the race. And Doug McCollum, Kyle Zimmer is going to try and see if he can get that lead back. But it's going to be interesting here, Carlos. We've talked about aero push once here tonight, but aero push is a thing to be concerned with on tracks like this, these mile and a half that are so fast.
that will bring out a caution for sure.
Yeah, that is the 48 of... Oh, Mark Dingman gets blindsided. Oh, Johnny Berardi impales the inside wall on the number 99 machine. Tough break for Berardi. It looked like he might have been through it, and then all of a sudden the 48 came down. Let's see this on the replay. Ooh, maybe a little bit of three-wide action there through the tri-oval. Just a couple cars getting together, and unfortunately for Mark Dingman, he got the worst end of it. And there you see that contact from the number 99 sending him into the inside wall. But Carlos, I think there were three wide there, and there's just enough space for those drivers to make that work through the quad oval.
Yeah, it's just that quad oval. People tend to run it in just two distinct lines, and when you got a wide surface entering that quad part, they all tend to bunch up single file. It's kind of like a bottleneck. Yeah, it's kind of like a bottleneck, and unfortunately resulted in a couple drivers getting some very serious damage and getting involved in another caution.
Yeah, and the number 99 of Johnny Berardi, he is going to make it back to pit road under his own power, which is good for that number 99 machine. It is smoking from that hard lick with the inside wall, but he's going to be able to come back and use a repair, I would think. I don't think he will be out of repairs. Oh, we see the number 98 of Christopher Burge on the grass on the inside of the racetrack. Not quite sure what happened with him. Oh, looks like the number 1 of Thomas Wise also made contact with the inside wall here. So tough break for those two drivers. They're both going to come down pit road here, use a fast repair, I would think. So a couple more drivers receiving damage. We do have an update on the Lucky Dog situation. And it does look like Fernando Matos will get that lucky dog. So that number 17 will be waved past the leaders as he goes by the number 25 of Kyle Zimmer. So Fernando Matos, he rides in the 15th position, but that number 17 machine is now back on the lead lap. And, you know, he's shown that good pace tonight. I'm hoping that he'll be able to work his way through the field nice and smoothly without getting up into anyone else's mess or his own mess or that sort of thing, because that number 17 has shown some good pace tonight, deserving of being, you know, at least a little bit higher up in the field, but that's just how things fall sometimes. Mark Dingman is out there, and I think Dingman, Carlos, Dingman's going to fall a lap down here in that number 48. He was on pit road for quite some time, and in fact, he did. Yeah, and the number 99 is also a lap down as well. So Dingman and Berardi, those two drivers who received the heaviest damage in this last accident, sit one lap down. As we now have 62 laps to go.
So this caution was fantastic, especially for the 17 of Fernando Matos, who we noted having a very fast... Hold on. Was that the 13 taking in the road course part?
It was. We should go back and see if we can get a replay of that.
Yeah, it was. It just came out of nowhere. I thought he was about to wreck or something. So
he took that really well.
Yeah, well, he's getting himself ready for when the Xfinity? Yeah, the Xfinity Series participates in the road course. Do they?
You know what? I'm not 100% sure of that.
Well, if they do, he's getting himself ready for that. I was trying to say, Fernando Matos, who we documented having not necessarily the fastest car out there, that title solely belongs to. Why is every time I start saying that, the 13 just comes out of nowhere? I'm assuming this time he did hit a cone, but yeah, that's the fastest car, definitely 25 of Kyle Zimmer. But we were showing the 17 of Fernando Matos having the second or third fastest lap time, so he found himself getting stuck a lap down. He is now back on the lead lap, although he is in the back. One more caution will definitely help him out with that, but he is in a position now where he can breathe out, collect his thoughts, and get back out there in a position where he can probably contend for the win if something happens to 25.
And I can confirm that the Roval is on the B-Car schedule. So that's going to be an interesting race once we get there a little bit later in the year, around the October time frame. As there goes Alan Capers once again. He's doing it again. There he goes, enter stage right. or interstage left, depending on which way you're coming from. So Alan Caper's out here having some fun on the Roval.
He's having some fun, maybe a little bit too much fun, because iRacing is giving him some connection issues.
Yeah, saying, whoa, buddy, hold up. We'll have to see if the number 13 is going to kill the cone here. I have a feeling he's having quite a bit of fun here under the yellow flag conditions. Let's see. Let's watch for the blue cone. It's going to be down there on the left-hand side. You can see it there. And Ripper Rudy, that number 13 killing that blue cone. The cone killer himself. Grabbing it once again. A good old iRacing cone repairman is going to have to go run out there under the caution flag, put it back up. It was really exciting earlier this year at Phoenix, where we're under green flag conditions. That number 13 would impale the cone lap after lap, and it would just magically reappear just for him to wallop it once again. But all these cars now going through turns number 3 and 4, getting set to go back to green flag racing. Kyle Zimmer once again reassumed the race lead here. And he's going to lead them back to the green flag. Green flag back in the air. Kyle Zimmer, good restart. Doug McCollum laid back just a little bit. Couldn't quite get that restart he was looking for. And the 25, Kyle Zimmer, is going to clear him going off into turn number 1. In fact, we're single file through most of the field already. The first side-by-side is between Cochran and Roberge for the 10th position there at the top of your screen. Now Brian Lowhead ducks out. Lowhead looking to go underneath Nate Catilla. That's a battle for the 5th position on the racetrack. And indeed, the 66 takes it. So Lowhead has shown some great speed here in the last 20 or so laps. Ooh, look at the 33 just off your screen. He was cutting that course just a little bit. As you mentioned earlier, Carlos, he has a tendency to do that. Just shorten up the racetrack a little bit as he tries to close back in on that race lead. We've seen the 33 lead a few laps in this race in the last 15 or so laps. But the number 25, Zimmer up front, he's been really hard to pass, and he's been so far the dominant car. But there's still plenty of time, over 50 laps to go, for someone else to mount a charge. Could it be the 33? Could it be the 32? Could it be the 66? Only time will tell as they go down the backstretch. And let's ride along here with Doug McCollum. You see he's running a little bit different line than the number 25 in front of him. That's probably to get a little bit of clean air on the nose of that machine to help with the downforce, because when you're tucked up behind the car in front of you so closely, it does adversely affect how your car is going to drive. You see McCollum running that higher entry there. You see he lost a little bit of time. He rolled out of it a little bit earlier than the 25 of Zimmer. Zimmer drove it into the corner a little bit harder. Doug maybe saving his tires here just a little bit. He's going to make up, have a great 3 and 4, make up a little bit of time through there. He's got a good run up off the corner now. He's going to use that draft down the straightaway to close up on the back bumper of that number 25. And here you see again, he rolls out of it just a little bit early. He uses a late apex to save that right front, because it's really easy. Ooh, with number 25 almost clipped the outside wall. Did stay off of it, didn't see any sparks or anything like that, but Kyle Zimmer got really close to that outside wall. But definitely interesting to see how Doug is running this track just a little bit different than the 25. Looks like the 25 is faster through 1 and 2, and the 33 is faster through 3 and 4, at least at this present moment. Those two drivers swapping back and forth with lap times with one another. So pretty interesting to see that between those two drivers, as the field is pretty much spread out here just a little bit. Tom Johnson in the 56 rides currently in the 3rd position. Good run for him. Billy Wise 4th. Nate Catilla in 5th. Lowhead, while we were focusing on the number 33, Lowhead has dropped back to the 6th position. Tim Masters rides in 7th, and it's been an up-down night for Tim Masters in the number 9, as you see the number 32 come under fire from Nate Catilla. And we saw Nate Catilla, Carlos, early in this race, up right at the front in the 2nd position. And it just seems like once he lost that 2nd position, he hasn't quite been able to get back up into second, but he's definitely shown some speed, and he's trying to use that speed to get around Billy Wise here. He's going to dive to the inside of that number 30 through turns number 1 and 2. Keep that momentum up on the inside. He's got a good run out of turn number 2, does Nate Catilla. Halfway down the back stretch now. And he's going to make that path stick in turns number 3 and 4. Although Billy Wise, he might be looking at doing the over-under and not quite able to pull it off there. It's kind of a hard track to do the over-under on.
I do apologize for that. I have my mic settings just a little bit muted. Yeah, so far right now, 25 is back to where he needs to be in the lead. And the 32, the Doug McCollum was gaining on him, but it seems like the way he's approaching, it's good for the first couple of laps, and then it just doesn't seem to have what it takes to catch up to the 25, pardon me. That being said, everybody seems to have settled down in their roles. We're not seeing too many drivers battle side by side. Closest battle could possibly be decided between right here in 7th place between the 9 of Tim Masters and the 8 of Kevin Cochran. We've seen a majority of these drivers involved in many incidents. Oh, here we go, another one!
Did he save it? Tim Masters, what a save in that number 9. Need I say, a masterful save by Tim Masters, as he now comes under fire from Mark Dingman. But man, I can't believe Masters saved that car. I thought that number 9 was going around. Carlos, I think you did too, as your voice went up a couple of octaves.
I thought that car was done again, especially as we were talking about my voice is all over the place. My brain is all over the place. Yeah, as we saw all of these, majority of these vehicles get involved in incidents, thankfully these faster cars were able to help them out and get fresh vehicles out there for them. It's essentially like the All-Star race in, what was it, 2004, 2005, when it rained in the first lap. So currently side by side, we're still going and seeing the 66 of Brian Lowhead and 32. Battle for 4th place, for 5th place, the advantage going to 66 of Brian Lowhead. As we do have a battle currently right now for 2nd place, as we see that the 33 has his tires seem to be failing him now. As the 56 and the 4 of Nick Catilla have gone by him. He's gone from being 5/10 of a second back from the lead to being right now at this point 3 seconds back. So whatever the 33 was doing is actually, you know what, I can see what the 33 was doing. The 33 was having an affair with the outside wall. That whole right side is caved in horribly. Either, I don't know if you can see that damage, but he must have scraped the outside wall trying to catch up to the race leader.
Yeah, he had a scandalous affair with the turn 4 wall on exit about 4 or 5 laps ago. He smacked that outside wall, went back and checked it on replay. But that is what happened to Doug McCollum, and that right front damage has definitely affected the handling of that car. You can tell it just doesn't have the speed to keep up with the number 4 of Nate Catilla in front of him. Looks like it's really tightened up the car. That is pretty common. If you ding up that right front, that's typically what happens. The car tends to get tight, especially on exit of the corner, which seems to make things worse because all of a sudden it's really tight up off the corner. Although he got a great run on Nate Catilla here, he did have to check that run just a little bit. But once you've got the car tight, hit that outside wall, all of a sudden it gets tighter up off the corner, which can lead to bouncing off the wall a little bit more. So we'll have to keep an eye on that situation.
Yeah, as we were mentioning,
there's some good racing. I was going to say, there's some good racing, Carlos, back around the 11th position between Christopher Burge, Tim Masters, Mark Dingman, and Alan Capers. All those drivers are really battling it out. As you see, Alan Capers trying to get around the number 98 of Christopher Burge. That's kind of a 4-car cluster right now. Like I said, battling for the 11th position. Now Alan Capers is going to move into the 11th position, but Christopher Burge is trying to take that position right back. We've seen Roberge up and down through this field tonight, trying to rally his way back forward. Oh, the 13 clipped the wall of entry. It got that back end just a little bit swirly, and the number 98 of Roberge almost got into the back bumper because you could tell it just sucked some speed out of that number 13 when he clipped the wall, but everyone keeps it nice and clean. Mark Digman back there in the number 48, we've seen him up near the front tonight. He's starting to use a little bit higher line. Coming out of the corner, there's the number 96, Craig Covington, running in the 9th position. He's rebounded quite well. We've seen him a lap down at a couple times tonight, but good rebound for the number 96. In front of him, in the 8th position, is Fernando Matos. There he is on the center of your screen. He's working his way forward. Just to take a quick peek over the last few laps, the fastest average lap time, no surprise here, is Kyle Zimmer, but the second fastest average lap time over the last 5 laps is held by Fernando Matos. He's currently 7.66 seconds behind Kyle Zimmer, but Fernando Matos this last time by, he was only about 3/100ths of a second slower than Kyle Zimmer. So we said it a couple times, Fernando Matos has that long run pace. There's about 41 laps to go this time by at the line. So we'll have to keep an eye on whether or not Matos' tires are just, a little bit better on a longer run than these other drivers, and whether or not he'll be able to close up. Not quite sure he'll be able to track down Kyle Zimmer, but definitely a lot of the cars in front of him, he has the pace to pass them, as he has caught the number 32 of Billy Wise. There's the number 56, Tom Johnson. He's currently riding in 2nd position in front of Nate Catilla in the 4. Great to see Catilla with a good run. We've seen Catilla in victory lane here in the SimPossible Racing League. He's trying to get back there as he comes out of turn number 4. Goes through that quad oval. It's kind of a unique quad oval. There are quad ovals at tracks like Texas Motor Speedway and Atlanta Motor Speedway, but whatever it is about this Charlotte quad oval, it just races different than those other two. And I think you said it earlier, Carlos, it's kind of a bottleneck. I think it's one of the narrower quad ovals. Charlotte and Texas are, similar in how wide they are through there, but Charlotte just seems to bottleneck these cars, especially if you're in a pack.
I guess I have the perfect term now. It is a bottleneck, but the reason it seems like a bottleneck is because the angle of the corner of the thing is so aggressive compared to other tracks like Texas. You pretty much have to give it some decent wheel to go through there at a decent speed.
Yeah, absolutely. Keeping an eye on Brian Lowhead in the number 66, we said he had dropped back just a little bit earlier on. He was up into 3rd briefly, slid back to 6th. Well, that number 66 has rebounded back up to the 4th position. Doug McCollum, after receiving that right front damage, he's fallen back to 6th. But here comes Kevin Cochran. Got to keep an eye on this guy, because Kevin Cochran is the 3rd fastest car out there on the racetrack right now in the last 5 laps. And he is going to blow past the number 66 of Brian Lowhead. So move Kevin Cochran up into 4th in that number 80 machine. He has a ways to go to catch the 3rd place car in front of him. That would be Nate Catilla. There is about 2 full seconds between the number 4 and the number 80. But last time by, Kevin Cochran was about 3/10 faster than Nate. Now watch Cochran's line. I said this earlier. Cochran runs a higher groove around this racetrack. You can see he's running right above that first black strip in the entry of turns number 3 and 4. And watch, he does something similar in turns number 1 and 2. And I think that is kind of the secret to his long run pace. You see he's running much higher than the cars in front of him. Let's see if we can feature Nate Catilla this time by, just as a comparison. There he is in the number 4.
I hate to bring it up, but I can't. I noticed this a little while ago, and I didn't say anything until now, just because of the fact that typically it's about 30-second delay before they show back up. 33 of Doc Cullum is being shown off of the racetrack, and he's been shown off the racetrack for over a lap now. I think he has succumbed to a couple internet issues. He is currently being shown 19th, 1 lap down, and by this point, if he wasn't having issues, he would be back up in the standings.
Yeah, that is very true, Carlos. I'm keeping an eye on that connection. I have his quality, I'm looking at his quality of his connection, and it just continues to drop. So I think that is it, and indeed Doug McCollum has dropped out of the server. He's lost connection with the server that's hosting this race, so that's going to be a big hit for Doug McCollum. We've seen him with a lot of pace tonight, of course, started on the outside of the front row and currently off track, and he's going to have to hustle back into the server to see if he can even...
Oh, what?
Oh, I don't think he's on pit road of his own doing. At least that's not how he wants to be on pit road, because that number 48 is sideways currently. Oh yeah, he spun it coming out of turn number 4. I would expect. Yeah, if that was his stall, it would have been nice to see it go a little bit further back here. And I think that's going to be turn 4 wall. And indeed it is, and that just broke that 48 loose, slid him through the AstroTurf. Not much resistance there, and he hit the pit wall. I'm sure those crew guys there.
That stall right in front is his stall. So if he only slid just a couple feet further up, he would have slid perfectly into his stall.
And keeping an eye on Mark Dingman looks. Yeah, he has left the server in that number 48 machine, so tough break for the 48. All of a sudden, attrition starting to set in here at Charlotte Motor Speedway as Kyle Zimmer up front has a 5.25 second lead over Tom Johnson in the number 56, Nate Catilla, another 0.7 of a second back. But that number 25 has basically set sail from the beginning of this race. 31 laps to go, and I'd say Kyle Zimmer has led probably 90 to 95% of the laps that we have run so far in this thing. That number 25 has just been so fast tonight. I'm sure that's exactly what Kyle Zimmer wants to see. He comes in tonight as your points leader here in the SimPossible Racing League B-Car Series, trying to pad those points before they get to the playoffs.
And who was in second?
There isn't. Yeah, we have Tom Johnson in second.
No, the points.
Oh, it's the second in points. Excuse me. Yeah, second place in points is Tanner Sharp, and of course, Tanner's not here. So that's a tough break for him. Came into tonight only 1 point behind Kyle Zimmer, and so with Zimmer having a good points night here tonight, at least at this present moment as they run, of course, those are the 3 dirty words for racing fans as they run. But as they do run, he's going to add to that points lead quite a bit with Tanner Sharp not starting tonight. But look at this battle for the second position. Kevin Cochran there, I said he was about 2 seconds behind Nate Catilla, and the line he has been running, he has slowly but surely been closing in on these 2 cars in front of him. And now he is within striking distance of both Nate and Tom Johnson with just under 30 laps to go. So great to see this long run pace by Kevin. I think he's got a really good shot here, Carlos, of making it past those 2. The number 25 of Zimmer's checked out. I don't quite think Cochran will be able to catch him, but Cochran's not really losing any time to the race lead, which is good news for him. He just needs the track to kind of go his ways. Ooh, a little bit of connection issues there for Kevin Cochran. He is back. I wonder if iRacing servers are having a little bit of trouble tonight. We've seen that out of a few drivers have connection issues, including Tanner Sharp in practice.
A little bit of trouble tonight.
Yeah, maybe it's just internet in general. Ooh, we have a battle behind these guys for the 5th position, and it's not much of a battle anymore, but Fernando Matos in the 17 has worked his way up into 5th spot. Good run for him. Great rebound. He was multiple laps down earlier in this race. Or I should say he's been laps down at multiple points in this race, but now currently sitting in 5th after getting around Brian Lowhead, who is fallen back to 6th. Craig Covington in his SimPossible Racing League debut, running in 7th position. Great to see that. Always good to see someone here on their debut race having a good one. Billy Wise sitting in 8th, Thomas Wise 9th, Tim Masters rounding out your top 10. As Tom Johnson there. Oh, Tom Johnson, he lost out 2nd position to Nate Catilla. So move the number 4 up into the 2nd position. And I'm wondering if Nate started to learn something from number 80 right behind him, because all of a sudden it looks like the 80 of Cochran has stopped closing in on the 2 cars in front of him. And Catilla has all of a sudden taken off. Started to pull away from the 56 and the number 80. So Catilla might have had a little bit in reserve there, and all of a sudden has decided to let it unleash here with just under 25 laps to go. Of course, 25 laps to go, that's always been my go time. Once you get under 25 laps to go, there's no holding back.
My go time has always been lap 1.
Well, you know, that is true. That to me is a different type of go time. But keeping an eye on lap times here as they cycle on through. Over the last 5 laps, Kyle Zimmer, no surprise, has been the fastest driver out there. Nate Catilla, however, has been running pretty much identical lap times to Kyle Zimmer. Fernando Machos as well, running really quick out there. Last time by, Nate Catilla was about 1/10 of a second faster than Kyle Zimmer. The bad news for him is he is quite a few seconds behind, about 6 seconds off the race lead at this present moment in time. So he'd have to be significantly quicker, about 3 to 4 tenths quicker than the 25 car per lap in order to run down Kyle. So running out of lap times pretty quickly, you'd need another caution. Might be able to get one, only time will tell. This time by we'll have 21 laps to go. But this battle for now the 3rd position between Tom Johnson and Kevin Cochran continues to wage on. But looking at lap times between them, there's not much separating those two. Last time by, Kevin Cochran was a mere 3/100ths of a second faster. Seems like that group of cars has leveled off at this present moment in time. Looking back through the field, there is a battle here between Billy Wise and Covington in the 96. Billy Wise was able to get that position from Covington. So Covington is now back into the 8th position. The next car behind him is Tim Masters. There is a battle for the 10th position as well between Roberge and Capers. There's about 1/2 of a second between those 2 cars. Capers this last time by was just a little bit slower than Roberge. So that battle seems to, all of a sudden the gap between those 2 cars seems to be growing a little bit bigger. But besides that, the best battle on the track is the battle for the 3rd position, still between Tom Johnson and Kevin Cochran. And Carlos, this is the longest green flag run of the night that we have seen. Kyle Zimmer, it's been 50 laps since he pitted last. I know we mentioned it a little while ago. Oh, the 99!
You just had to open
in the
your
inside
mouth.
wall. No caution yet. We're already stuck in the inside wall. I don't think he's going to be going anywhere. He's off the racing surface, and we will stay green. See what happened here on the replay going down the back stretch.
Oh, he just he's having some wheel issues.
Yeah, it might be wheel issues, or the car broke loose or something. That looked fairly strange.
The tires were straight. I don't know if we'll take another look at it. The tires didn't, after he hit the wall, when he went down low, the tires just looked straight, like they weren't turning.
Yeah, that is really strange. I know he made a little bit of contact with the outside wall. I wonder if that might have damaged something on the car and got it to break loose, couldn't steer, and all of a sudden hit the inside wall just like that. Ooh! I'm watching, I thought I saw someone come to pit road. That was going to lead me to another point. I'm interested to know if these drivers have enough fuel to make it all the way. The 99 is on pit road.
Discussing about if they can make it to the end. I don't think they can. I think they may have to go one more time. We saw the one already go down pit road. We're seeing the 99 already in pit road. And these drivers have already gone 53 laps, and there's 16 laps left to go. I think we're going to have to bring it down pit road, honestly. The next question is, how early?
Yeah, if you're, basically anyone but Kyle Zimmer I would probably have already pitted if you can't make it on fuel. Now, if you can make it on fuel, definitely stay out. But drivers like Kevin Cochran, I'm keeping an eye on him in the number 80 machine. Kevin Cochran, he actually pitted under the last caution, and all the leaders stayed out under the last caution. So Cochran actually has 8 laps more fuel than Zimmer, Catilla, and Tom Johnson. So if this race goes green and your top 3 cannot make it on fuel, Kevin Cochran could be a good bet to win this race if there is the question of fuel. But still don't see anyone on pit road that would indicate. We did see Thomas Wise on pit road, but beyond that, I haven't seen anyone else beside, the 99 of Berardi who had all that damage. He took that tow. So gotta keep an eye on whether or not some of these drivers are going to run out of fuel or not.
It's very interesting what we're seeing. Yeah, I think the one person who probably could make it could be the 80. This is looking to be his night then, if that's the case. I know Kyle Zimmer will not be happy. He'll be letting another one go. But in this case, it wouldn't be his problem. There's some contact there for the battle for second between the 4 and 56. Looks like the 4 is just a little bit slower than the 56. The 56 has been gaining on him. The 56 was originally in the first part of the run faster than the 4. 4 was able to get by the 56 and check out, but at this point now the 56 is caught up. Do you think maybe the 4's tires are going down, or maybe do you think the 4 might just be saving fuel?
I have a sneaking suspicion that the 4 is saving fuel. In fact, if we can ride on board with that number 4 machine, I think it will be, listen to the RPMs that this thing has going down the straightaway. You can see those RPMs go up, and then it just all of a sudden the car just dies, and you see him riding up there near the wall. He's going to let the faster car of the 1 by. I think Catilla is saving fuel. I think he's trying to stretch this one to the end, but only time will tell.
Whoa, you may not have heard it there, but as soon as he exited the quad oval, he got off the gas. He isn't clutching it or anything like that, but let's see when he gets off the gas here for the corner.
Yeah, he's losing so much time right now to Kyle Zimmer.
Speed.
Yeah, he's losing tons of time to Kyle Zimmer. Last time by, he was almost a second and a half slower than Zimmer. Now, he's not going to be able to do that for too long, because Kyle Zimmer will only, have to come down and take a splash of fuel. You're basically balancing now how long you're going to lose saving fuel versus just coming down for a splash of fuel. But we do know that Kevin Cochran's got more fuel in the tank than the drivers around him. I do expect to see that number 80 flash on by the number 4 this time by, as Cochran's going to go to the high side. I expect him to see that 80 on the right-hand side here. No, not yet, at least. But I'm kind of surprised. Cochran appears to be possibly saving fuel as well. But I wouldn't think
if he's
Cochran
saving
would
fuel,
have
then
any
everybody
issues.
else has to go down pit road. It honestly does not sound like these guys are going full throttle at all. It's weird. Like Nick Catilla, it seems like he's going quarter throttle or half throttle. However, more aggressive is the 56 and Tom Johnson. Nick Catilla, of course, visibly we are seeing him slow down a lot compared to everybody else, so we know for sure he's trying to save gas.
Oh, race leader on pit road, Kyle Zimmer on pit road right now as we speak, and Kyle Zimmer will relinquish the race lead. Obviously, Zimmer has realized he can't make it on fuel, so he's down, and he is down and away, just a splash of fuel. He's going to lose a ton of time down there on pit road. Now he's going to have to make that time up. We know Zimmer now has enough fuel to make it to the end. In that number 25 machine, he has shown his card. There is Tom Johnson in the number 56. We don't think he'll be able to make it. And Carlos Zimmer pitted 8 laps before the end of this race. That 8 laps is just about how much extra laps Kevin Cochran had in his fuel tank. We know that Zimmer hasn't been saving. He's been out there developing a huge lead.
Johnson pit road.
And
oh, no, sorry. I lied to you. I apologize.
And so all of a sudden, and it looks like Kevin Cochran's gone around Tom Johnson. So Kevin Cochran is your new race leader here at Charlotte Motor Speedway with only 6 laps to go. And Carlos, like I was saying, Kevin Cochran had 8 laps more fuel in his tank than did your former race leader.
He is not backing off the gas unless entering the corner where he needs to. He is going full beans in the backstretch in the straightaways. Everybody else are at the corners, 140, 150. Kevin Cochran's going around 160 in the corners and even higher in the straightaways where everybody else, I don't see him getting past 160 blank.
And right now, Kyle Zimmer dominated this race. Yeah, Fernando Matos 17 on pit road right now. And Kyle Zimmer dominated this race. Currently finds himself 22 seconds off the lead. Zimmer did not take tires. He only took a splash of fuel. So his tires are just as old as Kevin Cochran. There's no way that Zimmer will be able to make up that time unless Cochran runs out of fuel. We'll have to keep an eye on the 56 of Tom Johnson, because Tom, he, like Kyle Zimmer, pitted on the same lap. So Tom Johnson has now gone 65 and a half laps. And, maybe Tom Johnson might be out of fuel on the backstretch. Either that or we have a caution. That changes everything. And the 17 of Fernando Matos is slow in turn number 1.
It's over.
I think that, yeah, that will end the race right there. And my, oh my, strategy, Carlos. Kevin Cochran, as long as he can make it back to pit road, or excuse me, the checkered flag, Kevin Cochran will end up winning this race, because there is only... Oh yeah, Fernando just got on the gas just a little bit. Yeah, that wheel spin. Don't think he took fresh tires, and I bet you wheel spin caught him out there.
He took 4 tires. Or if he didn't, he stayed there long enough to take 4 tires.
Okay, so yeah, just a little bit of wheel spin caught him out.
Now we do have another important question. Will anybody run out of fuel under caution?
It is always possible. Brian Lowhead, though, he pitted 1 lap before Kevin Cochran. I think... Or was Capers just taking the road course, because that's what he does?
No, yeah, but he cheated in the road course.
Oh, he'll have to slow up and give it time gained. But Brian Lowhead, I don't think he'll run out of fuel. There's no shot there. He pitted 1 lap after Cochran, so I think he's good. Tom Johnson, he pitted 7 laps before Kevin. So Tom Johnson currently 67 laps on his fuel. Craig Covington, newcomer to the league, he sits in the 4th position. Great run for him. Billy Wise currently sits 5th. He's also, looks like he will have enough fuel in the tank. Really, the only question out of the top 5 is Tom Johnson. He just has to make it around another 2.25 miles here. You see him down on the apron. He is running on fumes in that number 56 Ford EcoBoost Ford Mustang. Now to see if that Ford Mustang has the fuel mileage. He must be super close to making it on fuel to be running down there on the apron. Yeah, you see that RPM there on the tachometer down around 2,000 RPM, just trying to save as much fuel as possible. This is some scary stuff if you're in the number 56. Will you make it or not? But definitely a great run from Tom Johnson. I mean, it didn't quite pan out for him there, but he was up near the front there for the last half of the race. Hopefully he has enough gas. He's running on fumes, but hopefully he can make it back around. We have just under a mile and a half. This is pretty much the most action we've seen under caution flag. Oh no! Your race leader is having connection issues!
No, he's been having that all night. But As long as it doesn't happen as he crosses the line, he should be good. We do have a driver in pit road with 13 of Alan Capers. Yeah, that looks like a vehicle that is out of fuel.
That is what it looks like. Alan Capers.
Oh, we have another one
to his pit box.
Oh,
Nick Catilla. And just like that, Carlos. A tough break for those two drivers. Tom Johnson down there on the apron, still coasting around. I think he was going to be really close on fuel because he started saving as well. I'm surprised that Nate in the 4 machine, he couldn't make it because he was saving so heavily there with about 15 laps to go. But it does look like that number 56 will stay under power here. But for the number 80 of Kevin Cochran, yeah, get your kazoos ready because the number 80 makes it work with fuel mileage here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Give the checkered flag to Kevin Cochran. And my oh my, Carlos, that is awesome to see Kevin Cochran get the victory. That is his first win here in the B-Car Series this year. Great to see someone else go to victory lane. In fact, that is only his second top 5 so far this season for Kevin Cochran. And what a way to do it in victory lane here at Charlotte. We mentioned it earlier. It's one of the biggest racetracks in NASCAR to win at with all the teams nearby. It definitely holds its place in a lot of race fans' hearts. And for Kevin Cochran, I'm sure it will have a special place in his heart for getting his first win in the B-Car Series. There you see a little bit of good sportsmanship. Alan Capers pushing around Nate Catilla so Catilla can cross the stripe right at the end. But for Kevin Cochran, he's burning it down here on the front stretch. What a win and what a way to do it. Definitely an exciting race. It had us on the edge of our seat right to the end. Even under a caution, it had us on the edge of our seat. Because who was going to make it on fuel or not? Kevin Cochran, though, making it work. And that is Kevin Cochran's first win in the SimPossible Racing League. And that's awesome to see.
This is just a classic case of not the fastest car not winning the race, but the smartest driver ended up winning. I'm not saying that Kyle Zimmer made a mistake or anything. It's just that 80 was able to find himself in a position where he could prevail, and prevail he did.
Yeah, and you know, Carlos, we were talking about it with about 60 laps to go. We talked about fuel mileage and are they going to make it from here? This might be close. Well, sure enough, it was close for a lot of the field. Tom Johnson running on fumes to get a third place. Ben Lowhead from 15th to 2nd. What a race. It's actually Kevin Cochran's first top 3, so it'll be the first time, I think it'll be the first time we'll get to talk to him here on 3 Wide TV.
And how about Rookie of the Race, Craig Covington, finishing the race in 4th. But let's
see great rebounds for him.
Johnson.
See if we can drag him down here.
Peter, I'm going to go ahead and let you handle all the interviews while I go ahead and get myself set back up to get everything set up at the end. So here is Tom Johnson. Peter going to go ahead and give the 3rd place finisher a nice chat.
Absolutely. Well, Tom Johnson, man, oh man, Carlos and I were debating back and forth on whether or not you were going to actually make it back to the stripe. A couple cars ran out there under caution flag. Just how close were you?
Well, I was showing about laps left when we had 3 laps, so I was pushing it, and that's why I was trying to hold off. I was holding back quite a bit. I wasn't pushing it at the end there. I was trying to save fuel.
So at what point in the final run did it occur to you that this might be a fuel mileage race? Because it seems like all of a sudden the race pace for both you, Nate Catilla, and Kevin Cochran just all of a sudden seemed to slow down.
I would say about lap 100, I think, is about when I noticed I was slowing down quite a bit and looking and paying attention more. So, but Yeah, it was good. I wish I would have had. It'd been nice to have a caution at about a lap 100, because then I could have had new fuel, new tires. So then we could have raced her out. But I had a good race, so I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely showed your pace here tonight. And, this is the new Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's the new old Charlotte Motor Speedway, right? It's recently been redone in iRacing with the old pavement. How does that old pavement affect the way this track drives? It looked like it was a little bit tricky for drivers out there tonight.
This car here don't run like the Class A car, but you definitely got to let up. You can't go full throttle around, so you gotta watch it in the corners. And towards the end, then she was pushing. It was trying to slide up on the exit to the corners towards the end. So.
Yeah, we saw a couple of drivers make contact with the outside wall. We saw you actually get some damage throughout the race tonight. Just how important was it to keep your car clean? And did you ever think about using one of your last fast repairs to get your car fixed, or were you saving that in the event of a last-minute dash to the finish?
Well, early on I had a little bit of damage, and I had them fix it in the pits, and I'm still showing 4 fast repairs, so I never used one at all. So it was a good race, thanks to my crew and with their setup.
Yeah, before we let you go, do you want to give some shout-outs for us?
I guess I don't have anything right off the bat. First time I've done this, so wasn't really prepared, so appreciate you guys broadcasting us. And shout out to everybody watching, I guess.
Well, absolutely. We have some interesting races coming up on the schedule in the next few weeks. Pocono will be our next race. I believe that is in 1 week's time. The Tricky Triangle. What's your thought about Pocono? Do you like Pocono? It's definitely one of those tracks that drivers either like or hate.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's a like or hate me track. I can get around it, but I'm not the best there. So, but I'm just hoping for 10 then. So.
Well, Tom, thanks for joining us here tonight, and congratulations on your 3rd place run. Glad you were able to see the checkered flag, because that kind of had us on the edge of our seats there at the end. But nonetheless, we hope to see you next week at Pocono.
Thank you guys for broadcasting, and thanks to Jeff for putting all this on.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, that was your 2nd place finisher, driver of the number 56 Ford EcoBoost Ford Mustang, Tom Johnson. And let's see if we can grab the 2nd place finisher here tonight. That would be driver of the number 66, Brian Lowhead. See if we can drag him down to our channel. There he is. Brian, Peter Short here in the 3Y TV booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, Brian, you just happened to make one of the calls of the race. It didn't quite get you the checkered flag. However, you pitted 7 laps or so after the likes of Tom Johnson and Kyle Zimmer. Kyle was so fast here tonight, but you made the right call to pit a little bit later. You had the fuel. First off, just how close were you on fuel, and did you have to save to get to the end of the race?
Oh, without a doubt, I had to save. I had about 2 laps of fuel left at the end, so it was sketchy at the end. The damage actually helped me because it slowed my car down, so I'm glad. But never want to have damage, but it worked out for me, so.
Yeah, sometimes damage can be a blessing in disguise. I know I've experienced that as well. Sometimes in some of the short tracks, when you have a little bit less horsepower, can actually be a blessing in disguise as well. But tonight, Charlotte Motor Speedway, it's one of those special racetracks here, and finishing second. Just talk us through, your thoughts about finishing second, because I can't quite remember. I think this might be the first time you have finished in the top 3, at least in the broadcast I've done. It must be pretty special to finish second.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. I'd like to thank Billy Wise, teammate, and SimPossible, Jeff Smith, for putting this on each and every week. It's so awesome.
Yeah, we definitely have a lot of fun here on 3Y TV, the broadcasting it, because you guys put on a fantastic show each and every week. Makes it a lot of fun for us to broadcast when you guys put on a good show like you did tonight. But next week we got Pocono Raceway. I'm sure you guys will be putting on a good show there. We've already heard from Tom Johnson. He's not a big fan of Pocono Raceway. I kind of said it's a polarizing track. You either like it or you hate it. What are your thoughts about Pocono? Do you like the Tricky Triangle?
I like the newer track better because the older track was a little bumpy going into one. But if you just slow down enough to make the entrance to the quarter, it's pretty fun if you can do that. So,
yeah, personally, Pocono is one of my favorite racetracks. So good to hear I'm not alone in that regard. Before we let you go, you got some shout outs for us?
yeah, I'd like to thank Billy Wise at the Wise Guys, Jeff Smith for putting this on it each and every week, SimPossible, and all my sponsors.
Absolutely. Well, Brian, one question I want to ask you, because we don't get you up here all too often, but you tend to start in the back in these races. Tonight you started in the 15th position. You came home second, plus 13 positions. But do you have a lot of fun starting back there in the back? Is that why you do it?
Oh, I do that in official races. It's a lot of fun. It teaches you how to save tires and pace yourself through the whole race.
Well, there you go. You've heard it from your second place finisher, Brian Lowhead, perpetual, basically shotgun starter of these SimPossible races. Does it because it's fun. That's a great answer, Brian, and that's why we're all out here on the racetrack. And we thank you for stopping by and having a word with us, and we'll see you next week at Pocono.
Thank you, Peter. Have a good night, bud.
All right. Well, great to talk to Brian Lowhead. And now we get to talk to driver of the number 80, your race winner, Kevin Cochran. I'm thoroughly looking forward to this interview because, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Cochran, he also made the right call. He pitted at the same time that Brian Lowhead did. But Kevin Cochran, you were able to get the checkered flag tonight. My oh my, it's your first career SimPossible series win. You did it on fuel mileage, but you didn't just do it on fuel mileage. You had great long run pace. Really impressive run for you. Talk us through those last 20 or so laps.
Just fuel conservation or whatever. You just had to take it easy and coast around the corners and ease back into it.
Yeah, so just how close were you on fuel? It definitely looked like there with about 15 laps to go when you're racing with the number 4 of Nate Catilla. It seemed like you started to save some fuel then. We saw that you kind of dropped off the pace just a little bit. Were you short on fuel a little bit, or did you always feel like you were good to go?
Felt like I was good to go. It was showing like 3 laps of the good, but I just wanted to make sure I had enough to the end.
Well, better be safe than sorry. I'm sure at that point you realized if you were, 3 laps to the good and you had more fuel than Kyle Zimmer, that you were probably in the catbird seat. But when all of those leaders started to pit and you inherited the race lead, what was going through your mind?
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, it was definitely pretty exciting to see. I know Carlos and I, we were talking about, fuel strategy. Who is fuel strategy even an issue? Because a lot of those drivers stayed out for so long to finally make their final pit stop. But you made the right strategy, stayed out there, got the checkered flag, got your first career SimPossible Series victory. Next week we have Pocono Raceway. A very different track, the Tricky Triangle. What are your thoughts about Pocono?
Should be a good race like Charlotte was. Stop.
Yeah, definitely the SimPossible drivers. You guys put on a great show each and every week, all throughout the field. Some great side-by-side action. Tonight there was some fantastic saves by drivers, just really, really impressive. all night long. Great to see an exciting finish like that. But before we let you go, Kevin, you got some shout-outs for us?
Just the fans from KC Motorsports and whatnot.
All right. Well, Kevin, we thank you for stopping by. Congratulations on your first career SimPossible Racing League win here in the B-Car Series at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Definitely was one of the most exciting finishes we've had all year, and we hope to see you next week at Pocono.
Yep, I'll be there.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, go ahead, Carlos.
I was just going to say thank you so much to Kevin. But now we have the man of the hour, the league owner, Jeff Schmidt. Jeff, do you have a copy? You have two people there, so I didn't know which one exactly was you.
Oh yeah, I got you, Carlos. How you doing, buddy?
I am doing good as I misplaced my kazoo. So I will put that. I will put that thought of finding it away for now. So we just finished the show here at Charlotte, and finally, 3-Road Racing TV can move on to another track because this is 3 races where we have been at Charlotte. So I'm just itching to see the sunlight again. A fantastic race, a little bit caution filled at the beginning, but towards the end, there was a 66+ lap run of a green flag run, I guess. Of just amazing racing between all these drivers. Ended up with it being, I believe, the first fuel run race of the year. So it was fantastic to watch, and there were thrillers left and right. You want to give us your thought as to how the night went for the league overall?
Yeah, man, no doubt. Like you said, it was a little caution filled at the beginning. Definitely, if nothing else, these guys are awesome at adapting to something. So, like they have their whole life, kind of, have learned to adapt to not only living with a disability, but you can tell that they're so good at adapting to things that it also carries on into racing, where, at first they might not felt too comfortable here and got better and better as the race went on and was able to race more and become more racy with one another. Some great battling throughout the field tonight. Some people don't like fuel mileage races. You never know when it's going to be, really, because it all depends on cautions and whatnot. I really feel bad for Kyle there. Kyle Zimmer having the extremely dominant car tonight, leading a ton of laps and being out by so much of a margin, and to run out of the field that obviously he was going to run out maybe a little quicker than some others as fast as he was and hard as he was pushing it. So to lose the race that way, it kind of stinks, but then again, it gave some other guys opportunity. Congrats to Kevin on the win, and Brian and Tom for getting what I believe is, for both of them, their first podium finishes in the league. So that was very cool to see. Just very proud of those guys. Yeah, and Craig, only his second race with us in SimPossible.
We've been pitching it, like I said, but it was his first race, mostly because I have a memory of a 5-year-old, and Peter's been gone for like a month and a half. Craig, we apologize. This is the second race of the season for you.
I do believe it was his first B-car race, however.
Yeah, I believe so as well. I'm pretty sure his first race with us was in a trucks on a Monday night series. So.
All right. Well, then we've done nothing wrong. You may continue.
No, both, we're all correct here. Come on. No, he's still very new either way, and appreciate that he came out and raced with us again, because he raced with us and then had a couple weeks off there and came back, and he's an awesome guy. We like having him out here. A couple of the guys that are our week-to-week drivers here are already friends with him and know him very well. So very cool to have a friend join a league that you like so much and to be able to race with him. Him and Billy had a barn burner the whole race with each other, so it looked like those guys had a lot of fun racing against each other as well.
Yeah, it was just fantastic to watch. It's something we've noticed a lot. There were a lot of moments that more than likely would have ended up in caution. A lot of drivers getting sideways, entering the corner, in the middle of the corner, exiting the corner, and being able to just have absolute control and not bring out a caution, not spin out, not cause any additional delay to this fantastic race. It's just fantastic day for the drivers. And just going back to what you mentioned about drivers adapting and getting better throughout the run, there's no finer example than what we saw of rookie of the race, Craig Covington. He struggled in the first couple of laps, found himself a lap down, and ended up finishing fourth. Granted, a little bit of that was because of the fuel run at the end, but still, that's a fantastic turnaround. Same thing for the 17 of Fernando Matos. Found himself 2 laps down early and was able to, unfortunately, didn't finish where he wanted, but had the race gone green and had all the pit stops complete, he more than likely would have finished and found himself in the top 5.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. No doubt about it. Definitely a really cool race. Yeah, as far as those saves, man, I seen Tim Masters out there with a heck of a save. I don't think his car could have been a whole lot more sideways before it wouldn't have allowed him to save it. You know, no matter how much talent you got, it can only go so much sideways. So awesome job by him and many others tonight to save the crazy things that we've seen them save.
All right, so before we do let you go and read the results, I don't know if you want to give us any shout-outs for tonight.
Yeah, definitely. Got to give you guys a shout out at 3 Wide TV. The whole crew, Carlos, Peter, Cameron, Greg, everyone else that's part of 3 Wide that's ever helped us in the past and will in the future. Thank you so much for being part of it. We can't wait to watch these things after the race, man. It's a blast. To everyone that does watch them out there and is currently watching, thank you very much for supporting us. It's highly appreciated. You know, if it wasn't for you guys, maybe these guys out here driving wouldn't be pushing as hard as they do sometimes, which is what makes the racing awesome, is them pushing as hard as they can. So thank you for the support. The drivers themselves, obviously, you know, this is all for them. So always great to see a nice field. Tonight was a pretty big field. Awesome to see their families for helping them out every day, no matter what their disability may be. Their families are there for them, and if it wasn't for their families, a lot of them wouldn't be able to do this and meet up and race with us. So thank you to the family members that may or may not even hear me say that. Thank you. Thank you to Billy. Thank you to Billy Wise for being an admin and helping me out with a lot of stuff. You know, Billy and the Wise guys, and they've done a lot for SimPossible. Billy makes awesome videos and posters and stuff for us. If you haven't seen those, go to our Facebook page, SimPossible Racing League. Check those out. He does some amazing work, man. And super happy that he is so apt to help us out that way. So thanks, Billy. I truly appreciate it. Got to thank Alan Capers, too, who steps up. And he's kind of our marketing guy, looking for sponsors out there helping out. So thanks, Alan, for accepting that role. And we look forward to progressing always. If you are a disabled driver and want to join us on track, then please go to SimPossibleRacing.com, fill out a driver sign-up form, and we'll have you join us out here. We got our arms wide open. We'll do everything that we can to make you feel comfortable and accepted. And you know, everyone out here has something that, you know, deems them to have a form of disability, whether it be, you know, extremely severe or not so severe. But we all share that aspect of that, and it, you know, it's a family. It really is. It's a blast to talk to these guys and be friends with them outside of racing, and just very proud of everyone. If you're interested in getting in contact with us as far as wanting to sponsor or help, maybe spotting for a driver, if you have iRacing and you want to spot for someone, anything, you know, send me a message. Get a hold of us at simpossible@gmail.com. Other than that, have a blessed day, and thank you to everyone.
All right, well, thank you so much, Jeff. On that note, Peter, let's go ahead and give out the final results. I'm going to let you go ahead and take all of them, so there's only 15.
Absolutely. Well, taking home his first career SimPossible Racing League victory is driver of number 80 machine, Kevin Cochran. We had him up here in the booth. Great to talk with him. Brian Lowhead in the 66, his first career podium. He is going to finish in second tonight. Tom Johnson, also great run for him in the 56. Saw a lot of pace out of him tonight, coming home in the third position. Craig Covington, Jeff said it. his second career SimPossible Series start. His first start was at Daytona in the K&N cars. He finishes fourth. Billy Wise, he finishes in the fifth position. Christopher Burge comes home in sixth. Great rebound for him. He was multiple laps down at one point. Kyle Zimmer led the most laps tonight, led 109 of 133 laps. However, finishes in seventh after he ended up coming down pit road to take on fuel with about 15 laps to go. The number 13 of Alan Capers, first car 1 lap down at the finish. He ran out of fuel, came home in 8th. Tim Masters, 9th position in the number 9 machine. Fernando Matos came down and took fuel late and had a little bit of wheel spin coming off pit road. He's going to come home in 10th. Thomas Wise finishes in 11th, 1 lap down. Nate Catilla, he also ran out of fuel. In fact, he ran out of fuel 2 laps from the end under the caution flag, comes home 12th. Johnny Berardi, Mark Dingman, Doug McCollum round out your 15 starters tonight. And Tanner Sharp did not start, came in tonight second place in points, but unfortunately for him did not start, and will slide him back in the point standings behind the number 25 of Kyle Zimmer. So that's a tough break for him, but nonetheless, that's your final finishing order here tonight for 3 Wide TV. Just got to give Carlos, you don't always have the opportunity to give the shout-outs for us here at 3 Wide TV, so I think I'll let you do that honor tonight because you're the person who puts this all together each and every week. You do such a fantastic job for it. Well, just as I hear that, I think Carlos is having some mic issues, as you might have heard. So I'll give those shout outs. So first off, I want to give a thanks to Thomas Morris. Thomas Morris is one of those drivers. He's a friend of 3 Wide. Together, all of our great graphics that are continuously evolving, and Thomas puts in some great work for us. We're very appreciative of that. I want to give a thanks to Sim TV as well. They give us these great aerial views each and every week, and all the cameras that we use here on 3 Wide TV. Awesome to see that. And then, of course, got to give a thanks to the SimPossible Racing League for having us here each and every week. It's a lot of fun. And Carlos, you got anything further for us?
Well, let's see. Can you guys hear me fine?
I can hear you fine.
All right, fantastic.
Can't speak for everyone else.
Well, I mean, I know exactly what the problem was. It's just an issue that I thought I had taken care of, but I guess we'll see if that happens again. I want to go ahead and thank you, Peter. Peter, Cam, who is in here. As Jeff mentioned, everybody who has helped here. I just want to thank everybody for helping 3 Wide get to the point where they are right now. So we have great partnerships with everybody that we see and that we work with. We've already mentioned the fine people at Sim TV who have done the amazing cameras that we see here today. They're a fantastic broadcast group. Also Thomas Morris from OCR TV as well, who has done the graphics package. He is a guru here at ATVO. Just the stuff he's done it's far beyond what I can do in the limited time that he has. I'm sure eventually I could probably do something like this, but at the time that I have, I don't have the time to invest all these hours that he already knows. So he just having him make all these graphics package, it's fantastic, and I love the partnership we have. So on that note, I want to go ahead and say thank you so much for everybody. We will see you guys on Monday. And Peter, do you have any final words?
Just all in all, fantastic race. Couldn't call the finish on that one till the very end, and that's what keeps us here each and every week, and I'm sure that's what keeps you people entertained here on YouTube. Definitely a fun race to commentate, and we can't wait for next week at Pocono.
All right, thank you so much. Goodbye, everybody.